Hey guys, Crave here. Now, as I mentioned in a previous upload, I've into other games right now. Basically, you've seen some of them, like the expansion for Witcher 3, a little bit of Sword Coast Legends, a little bit of WildStar, a little bit of basically a whole lot of games. Not really focused on one particular non-WoW game. And in Warcraft, I've been mainly doing my gold farming stuff, pushing characters to around level 60, just to prepare to basically be ready for the character boost that's coming with the Legion expansion. And on the side, I'm also trying to get the legendary daggers for my rogue, as I never got them during Kata. Now, with these things, it basically just gives me more perspective and how other developers are doing things, and basically how World of Warcraft is doing. I mean, I can't just say that my favorite game is basically the best without, actually checking out other similar games and games from other genres. Now, as I mentioned in a previous video, this pre-Legion period would be a good time to actually do it. And really, this is just a good time and place to just really check out how World of Warcraft is doing. Not the current content, but, other aspects in the game. So let's check it out. There is no denying that the initial zones, or the first few zones that you visit in the game, look very old visually. I mean, heck, let's even include the Burning Crusade and the Wrath of the Lich King zones as well. I mean, yeah, sure, you do have your more updated zones like the Goblin starting area or the Worgen starting area, but still, overall, texture updates are needed in the early part of the game. I mean, sure, you can say that Warcraft is about the end game and the end-related zones, but my question to that is, why can't we have nice things all throughout? I mean, the experience of the whole as a whole, or the whole game, the game called World of Warcraft, is not just it's not just about the end game, it's about everything else. So, I don't know why we can't get updates, at least visual updates, to some older zones. I mean, it's really hard to swallow the reason that I saw this some time ago, that developers were saying that it might cost us a raid tier. I mean, it's just basically a resource allocation problem. I mean, I don't know why that is the reason. I mean, if you've been working for a couple of years and the nature of the company you're working for, or whether you have a business, you're most likely to offer a product or a service. And to me, I'm thinking, why can't we have a complete experience? Why do we have to, basically buy into one aspect of your product or your service when everything else could be great and, looking great? I mean, at the very least, I think it should be on the pipeline and really stated out there, clearly stated out there that it's something we plan to work on. But let's say for now they want to say something along the lines of, hey, we're working on Legion, but we're eventually going to get to that. And I do believe that it should be sooner rather than later. I mean, World of Warcraft is a pretty old game, and while the expansions make it look new, the engine is old and everything else is pretty much dated. So, if it will be more inviting to new players and give return subscribers from older expansions a chance to experience something new, basically visually, and that's more enticing than a return subscriber, a new player, being greeted by some old zone with some outdated textures, and you saying, so this is the game. And it's really not good when you're new or basically a returning subscriber. It also makes me think that while they're at it, they should update older gear textures while they're at it. I mean, basically the models can remain the same. They don't have to make changes to the models. But my saying that is just for them to basically update the amount of detail on the different armor pieces and maybe the different weapon pieces. The experience from 1 to 85 is very confusing. You're set to think that you're in the Kata storyline when you start off, but the thing is, once you hit level 60 to 80, it brings you back into the Burning Crusade and Wrath expansions. And I'm not sure whether Blizzard just wants us to experience their older expansions, but it really doesn't make any sense from a progression perspective. Also, I find the level cap a bit too high right now. I mean, once we hit Legion, it's going to be 110. But, if things are set in that way, then I think the leveling experience should be shortened by increasing the amount of levels you gain in zones and in different quests. Instead of, dinging a single digit, then I suggest the gaining of 2 or 3 levels would be a better experience. Quests can be optimized for this, and I'm sure they can do that. They did that with Kata. So this, basically can allow you to take other types of quests and maybe newer types of quests in other zones. So what this will mean basically is more options for everyone, and that is always a better thing to have. Now, they can also basically do the same thing for Burning Crusade and the Wrath content. I mean, they can make one of the two types of content just an optional thing, but place them in maybe in the Caverns of Time so that it will agree with the progression of the story. What they can do is, as you approach level 60, maybe they can create a sub-story for the Infinite Dragonflight that requires you to visit either or both content with different stories this time around. So it will involve some customization on their part, but yeah, that would definitely be a better experience, especially for new players. Now, one more thing for veterans is that I suggest just giving veterans the outright option to skip a majority of the early part of the game and jump straight into a later part of the experience. I mean, it really doesn't make any sense. I know some players actually level the same types of characters and same race and same class, so it really doesn't make any sense for you to keep going or having to go through the same content. My suggestion is to at least bring long-time players or players with multiple alts with the option to start at around level 20 or maybe even level 40. Scaling can tie into the leveling experience. What Blizzard can do is give players the option to flag their non-max level characters for this. This way, leveling players can still experience dungeons and gain XP appropriate to their level. Now, if you think about it, time walking already has a semblance to this, so why not implement it? And, also, it's been a while, but I think other games already have this, and those other games would be Rift and Guild Wars 2, but it's been a while, so I could be wrong. Now, in terms of gear, that shouldn't be a problem since we already have the personal loot system in place. I also think that scaling will do well for all parts of the game, but minus the more recent patches. You could have gear drop appropriate to your progression, but not give you gear that matches current content. You can do dungeons that you prefer, or basically assist a friend in some random, undone dungeon or undone quest, and not have to think that you're wasting your time since you may not be getting any experience from it. I don't think anyone was ever really sure of their characters when they first started out, especially if you had no idea of World of Warcraft or an MMO for that matter. Now, since this is a subscription game, a number of character services should be free and succeeding services should be charged a fee, but maybe at a much lower price. I never really understood why a sub-game like WoW would have services priced more or equal to the monthly subscription. Your sub already pays for your upkeep and your game time. Character services are simply, if you think about it, character services are simply back-end changes in the database. It's possible that some realms are located in different storage locations which may not be good for immediate transfers. Then, what you can do with that is just simply flag certain realms up for review prior to a transfer. Now, this might especially apply to high population realms where queue times can get a bit ridiculous. The point here is that, I really believe that players should be allocated some free character services and charge minimal fees afterwards. I would even say that, basically have the free allocation refresh every quarter or maybe every major expansion, provided you have been subbed for, let's say, the last 2 months or something like that. This will basically make it easier for everyone, especially new players and returning subscribers. Basically, just give people more options to customize their characters the way they want. Mogging was a good introduction, but we might as well get into being able to dye or recolor gear and maybe, loosen the Mog restrictions a bit more. This sort of ties into or is related to what I also mentioned at the start of this upload. If coloring options can be introduced or at least have older gear updated, then working on character appearance becomes more appealing and, basically we'd have more options to, dressing up our characters. Now, on the opposite side of things, there are, some things about the game should have some level of permanency but evolving at the same time. Of course, you have your character, it's always there, but it's evolving, getting stronger. But one non-character thing I can think of is housing. Now, it's been suggested many times over, and let's admit that Garrison simply did not cut it. I would suggest checking some video content on games like Black Desert and Wildstar. Those are good implementations. Housing, if you think about it, just like your character, represents some level of permanency, but can basically evolve as new content rolls out. You can have a theme based on what's going on at the moment. So let's say it's Warlords of Draenor or the Legion expansion. You can have, you can sort of trick out your house to have that green Legion theme, and or you can have the option to basically have it look like totally something else. And my suggestion is to have the decor or maybe some housing related items to be obtainable from anywhere in the game. And those are the 5 things I think should be done in WoW, or included in WoW, or improved in WoW. And it's not going to be easy for the devs to simply insert into all these ideas and maybe any other ideas that have been floating around into their schedules. But I believe that effort should be put into the other aspects of the game. It can't just be about the end game. It can't just be about the current expansion. Anyway, if you've got anything else in mind, just drop them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you in my next upload.